Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. We've cut down from, I think, 20 minutes to 15 minutes within there, just waiting for the presentation to load. I'm Vukosi, I'm the chair of data science here at the university, and then Abuden Wudupe will be presenting also with me. What's interesting also is that I'm a CTO of a AI company, a startup called Lelapa, and also connected to many, many different grassroots AI organizations. I run the lab Data Science for Social Impact here at the university, which is made up of very young, vibrant people who are working on artificial intelligence and data science, most of them working especially at the intersection of AI and African languages. And that's the thing that I'm very passionate about, and I'm also very passionate about young people across the continent actually working within these spaces. In talking about transformative research, I wanted to ask the question, yes, is community all you need? And hopefully you'll get an understanding of what I mean on here. And through this, is through this lens of how do we tackle AI and NLP for low resource African languages, right? So a lot of the tools that you see, like, now on artificial intelligence for languages, it's mostly you're interacting with them in English or in these high resource languages on there. There's been many, many breakthroughs. There's many, many tools that you've been using for decades, right? This is not something that's new. It's just been marching, moving forward, and actually improving over a period of time. But for our languages, our local languages, especially in South America and on the African continent, Southeast Asia, we have to deal with this thing of people not working in these languages because of their low resourceness. This means there's low availability of resources, whether it's data tools. It's hard to discover some of these resources so that you can use them in your research. Reproducing research is very hard within these spaces. Some people don't want to focus on these things because, hey, most of the research area is working in these high resource languages. You see, hey, ChatGPT is out there. Let me continue working in that space because it's working in English, right, on there. And then there's no benchmarks, and scaling and complexity is also very hard within these perspectives. So we wanted to deal with a lot of these problems and deal with all of them at once, right? We don't have time. Like literally, the time is ticking. If in a while we don't really work on these languages, it's done. Right? That's existential kind of thing. That's how it is. So you have to take everything all at once on there. So the way I advocate for is by building grassroots AI. Right? Why? These grassroots AI, they lower barriers to entry, multidisciplinary by design, inclusive, address systemic issues, collaboration, independent, right, and also work in a very multifaceted way, meaning they're not connected to, oh, you have to be in the university system, you have to be in industrial research or anything. People can work from anywhere on there. They're holistic and they're community focused. One, to start off with, I'll talk about the Deep Learning Indaba. We and a couple of co-founders created this in 2016, and the idea here was, hey, we want to strengthen African machine learning. So we want to see Africans being critical contributors, owners, and shapers of the coming advances in AI, right? I know we've had the conversations about 4IR, and then now people are talking about AI again, but we had been thinking about this for a long time and saying these things are coming. And the reason is that a lot of us had studied or worked in Europe or in the Americas, and we had seen that there was a lot of investments that was going on, whether by especially by governments, even countries like China, seeing that whoever controls AI is likely going to control the information economy coming into into the future. And then when you're on the African continent, you're seeing that this is not really, it's just lip service. Right? A lot of the multinationals that we have in South Africa and the African continent, when they talk about, they're saying, oh, they're technology companies. No, they're not. They're just business and compliance. They do not do any of the development of these technologies here. And that's a huge thing, meaning that you're going to have these technologies affect us, but we're not building them at all. Right? And that's a big part. So with the Deep Learning Indaba, this is what we wanted to do. And we built this of saying, hey, let's build this conference. It's annual, that happens. And then it also has smaller conferences that are workshops that happen in each country, because we are not, we're very much diverse on that side. So we have also what we call Indaba X's that happen across the continent. And we also have sister and brother organizations across the continent. This is VETS in 2017, the first Indaba that we had. Initially, we thought we'll have 50 people. once applications went over 500, we had to go and ask the vice chancellor, at the time, say, can we keep on increasing the numbers? And we ended up at 330 people attending with 700 applications. Next year, we went to Stellenbosch. On here, doubled, 660 young researchers. This is everybody. There's many, many young people on the continent who want to work in AI. They are not being, at the moment, accommodated, whether within the university systems, where it's really, there's not many parts in reality. In the companies, they are underutilized. They're they're working as developers. They're not, so they found and say, no, we're also coming and we're part of. So 660, over 1,000 applications. 2019, we went out of South Africa because, again, that was part of our thing, that we shouldn't focus on South Africa. Went to Kenya, also 600. And so getting close to 2,000 applications. I think we're at 1,800. We had a break because of COVID. Last year, we were in Tunisia. Because of uncertainties about COVID, we went down to 400, but then we're now getting, again, very high amounts of applications for this meeting, because people go there, they discuss, they debate, they learn from each other, and they build this huge network across the continent that's now in thousands of people who are working in AI. So it's not new. When people keep on kind of oh, there's a few people who work, and there's no, there's thousands across the continent who've been doing this, and I can tell you, Grassroots AI is way further than any company, any government on the continent at the moment on here. And then now we're going to Accra this year. In September, 800 attendants are planned. We've already had 3,000 applications. And over the last 2 weeks, acceptances have been going out. It's like one of those things that time of the year. It's sad we can't accommodate 3,000 people. Right, within this, and we're still looking for support in this case, because we need to get a lot of students, especially to this place. And if you can, go to deeplearningindaba.com and contribute within there. But Grassroots AI has been part of actually how a lot of AI has worked in the past. So I'm trying to see. I'm guessing it doesn't have, and you see this much over time of, yes, you have AI, you have very large or big labs in universities, you have private research organizations working in these spaces, but then Grassroots AI has always been there because it really fills in these spaces that are ignored. Right, because people can choose and say, we'll work on this. And right now, there's been just this movement of working on language models, just because that's the thing, that's very much the popular thing. But then the grassroots look at things that people are ignoring. So looking at our languages, dealing with all those problems that are highlighted before. And Deep Learning Indaba was one. There's Data Science Africa, Black in AI, America's NLP. And then the thing I'll really be focusing on is Masakani, where in Masakani, now in 2019, at the Indaba in 2019, people who work on language came together, and he said, no, we need to build a grassroots AI that specifically looks now at African languages and AI, and on there, for Africans, by Africans, in this specific way. And Masakani means we build together on there. This is the current board of directors. I couldn't join another Grassroots AI. I sit as one of the advisors for Masakani, but again, young people who are sitting and right now literally leading a distributed research organization that has over 2,000 researchers connected to it. Again, point me to any university on the African continent that can say they have a research group that has over 2,000 people within there. And it's participatory. Everybody from the beginning of who's creating the language resources to the point where you have the researchers who are building the AI and then releasing these things. People work together. They come together. They have there's this weekly meeting. People come in and say, this is the thing I'm interested in now. There's a project that just came out now on Know Our Names, where it's about how do we build speech systems that can pronounce African names better. And then somebody just came and said, I want to do this. People coalesced around it and say, I volunteer, I will join this project, and they worked on it on a couple of months, and the paper just will now be published at Interspeech, which is one of the top speech conferences in the world. All right, within that. And everybody is part of this thing. This was the first 2019 meeting that happened in Dava in Nairobi, and that's Jade, one of the person on the board members, putting up that thesis of saying, we need to do this and we need to do it now. And after that, you see at the top AI and language conferences, you see Masakani people meeting. This is a meeting here at the University of Pretoria. We have the workshop called Honzola at the beginning of the year, which brings together linguists and AI people on there. And then again, the banner of Masakani sits there. This is last year's Honzola on there. This was Masakane's birthday, third birthday last year when we were in Tunisia. Here's people just graduating from their PhDs or their masters all over the world, and then using that banner of, hey, we're Masakani. And then, finding a space where in the past you would go to these conferences as being a black person, you'd be 3 of you in a sea of 1,000. Now you go there and your people can identify each other because we're working together to build this thing. This is the ICLR conference. The first time a major AI conference was held on the African continent. I was one of the program chairs. And then this is the Africa NLP workshop that was there. And you can see how much we've grown now on there. In ICLR in 2019 had 16 Africans, or people who are identified as being Africans. Right now in 2023, in May when we were in Rwanda, it was 291. You can make that change. Right, on there. And what does it actually mean? People, oh, how do you do this? But then the research. This is the first paper that came out of Masakani in 2020 on participatory research and machine translation. This paper went on to win the first Wikimedia Research Award by Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, for democratizing the internet. Right? And since from there, it's just been beat after beat. Here's one paper, one more paper, here's another one, 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 and these keep on marching. And this impact is not just on that. Here's Google releasing new models that now cover new languages and all those things. They're using Masakani outputs. Right, whether it's Meta, it's other, that's the, again, of saying you have to take care of all the problems all at once because we do not have time. And young people are always going to be agitated and saying the revolution has to happen now. All right, that's okay. On this part. There are other grassroots AI organizations that are showing up on the African continent. The Sisonke Biotik that works on AI and health on the African continent, and that started now, and that's building up on there. And then there's also Roya CV Africa, which is looking at computer vision, so like imaging and all those things. And we're going to be supporting them, and we're going to be building this again. Because I think, like again, Masakani just on its output at the moment is likely the most productive AI lab on the whole continent. Right? There is no, yeah, on the whole continent. On that part. And it's just people coming together and saying, if at the moment, everybody's like, talk, oh, we should do transdisciplinary. We talk about it. No, we do it. As a base, that's not the talk on that part. Oh, how do we move, how do we go across universities? The incentives are not working for us and things like, no. That is completely beyond the point of what our languages have to count on them. Right? And this is the part of like when I ask like, is community all you need? We've done that, but we still have other things that we have to deal with. And we have a lot of things within the higher education, or like that's looking at individual competition because of the incentives of the way that you get measured and all kind of all these things. There's competition against researchers, competition against universities on there, and this is really not built like healthy. I have to do work with very young researchers who are within the academic sphere, and the amount of pressure that this brings in is really not conducive to good research on there, right? There's competition for prestige, the incentives, the way that we fund our higher education also really perverts the way that people really should be working in there. And we need to unlearn a lot of the behavior this has caused in terms of now research within there. And the world is moving towards more diverse teams. I always highlight this, and I'll say it again. If at the end of the day, in South Africa, in our higher education, we have a subsidy that is connected to how many people are on a paper. I know that with all my Masakani papers that I do publish with 60 authors, the university gets nothing, and that's okay. It's good science. It's not about the subsidy. Right? And that should be a thing that gets us to pause and think about this. Because there are then these behaviors that happen where people are telling you, no, please have less people on a paper. Thank you. Right, we have individuals and small groups in HRs, and we have limited resources. We need to break those barriers and on working. And just in my final thing, what got us here won't get you. What you got here won't get you there. And this is my thesis that I put towards the Grassroots AI community here on the African continent at the at ICLR. We built up the community, this impact of work. There's all those things, but we still have to deal with. A lot of the funding that we get is still from the West. Why are we not getting local African funding that's building on these? We need to build up opportunities for students and professionals on the continent, and then developing faculty and giving them that agency on there. We need to blaze our own path, and then we need to increase the amount of local R&D investments so that we can do a thing. And for now, thanks for that we want to really build together. And I just wanted to show some work that has come